Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! Vincent was unprepared for the mystery that awaited him in a quaint, distant town. Unbeknownst to him, his late Uncle Raymond, with whom he had little contact since a tense Thanksgiving years ago, had left him something unique. A phone call from a local law firm in Oak Ridge, a 3-hour journey from his modest abode, revealed the surprise: a barbershop named The Final Cut, along with a private residence above it. This unexpected inheritance left Vincent intrigued and puzzled. With no expertise in hairstyling, he pondered his options, wondering if he should take up the challenge or simply sell this peculiar bequest. The property alone is worth something. The timing couldn't have been more appropriate. The auto shop was closing at the end of the month, the owner retiring and selling the building to a developer. Vincent had been quietly panicking about where he would go next. 2 weeks later, he packed his meager belongings into his weathered pickup truck and drove to Oak Ridge, following the GPS to the address scrawled on the lawyer's paperwork. The Final Cut stood on a quiet street at the edge of downtown, away from the main shopping district. The brick building was narrow, but deep, with large windows covered by drawn blinds. A traditional barber pole, unlit, hung beside the door. The place had an air of dignified neglect, not run down but certainly not thriving either. Vincent unlocked the front door with the key the lawyer had provided. A small bell tinkled overhead as he stepped inside, and the scent of sandalwood and hair products greeted him. The shop was clean and orderly, with 3 barber chairs facing large mirrors, vintage cabinets, and a small waiting area. Everything appeared to be from another era, lovingly maintained but undeniably old-fashioned. Switching on the lights, Vincent noticed a door at the back marked Private. His curiosity piqued. He crossed the shop floor, his boots echoing on the checkerboard tile. The door was locked. He tried several keys from the ring before finding the right one. The room beyond was not what he expected. Instead of storage, he discovered what appeared to be a small salon, distinctly different from the traditional barbershop out front. A cushioned styling chair faced an elegant vanity. Shelves lined the walls, filled with an array of products, styling tools, and wigs on mannequin heads. Vincent's brow furrowed as he approached the vanity. Makeup products were carefully organized in drawers. In the closet, he found women's clothing in various styles and sizes, all arranged with meticulous care.
"What the hell, Uncle Raymond?"
he muttered, running his fingers along a rack of dresses. After exploring the downstairs, Vincent hauled his duffel bag up the narrow staircase at the back of the building to the apartment. The living space was small but comfortable, a combined living room and kitchen, 1 bedroom, and a bathroom. His uncle's personal effects had been cleared away, save for a bookshelf filled with books and journals. Exhausted from the drive, Vincent collapsed onto the sofa, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, he would figure out what to do with this strange inheritance. That night, curiosity got the better of him. He pulled one of his uncle's journals from the shelf and began reading by the dim light of a table lamp. The entries were sparse at first. Daily takings from the shop, appointments, occasional comments about regular customers. But as Vincent turned the pages, he discovered something surprising. October 15th, 2004. Thomas came in for his monthly appointment. "We've finally perfected his look. He says his wife never suspects a thing when he goes out as Teresa. He's much happier now that he has this outlet." Vincent sat up straighter. The entry continued, detailing how Raymond had helped this man transform into a female persona, complete with styling techniques and makeup tips. He flipped through more pages, finding similar entries about other clients. Some were married men who secretly dressed as women. Others appeared to be individuals in various stages of gender transition. All of them had found a safe haven in the private room of the final cut. The barbershop, Vincent realized, had two distinct clienteles: regular men who came for traditional haircuts, and a secret group who visited for transformation services. Morning light filtered through the apartment windows when Vincent finally put the journal down. He'd read through 3 volumes, piecing together his uncle's unusual business model. Raymond had created a space where people could safely explore gender expression at a time when such things weren't openly discussed. Over the next few days, Vincent cleaned the shop and familiarized himself with its layout and inventory. He discovered financial records showing the barbershop made modest profits, but the private services, while serving fewer clients, brought in substantially more income. A week into his stay, Vincent was startled by the shop's bell while sweeping the floor. He wasn't open for business yet and had left the door locked. A tall person wearing dark sunglasses and a scarf covering their hair stood in the entryway, clutching a large purse.
"I'm sorry,"
Vincent said.
"We're not open." "I have an appointment," the visitor said, voice deep but soft. "With Raymond." Vincent leaned on the broom handle. "I'm afraid Raymond passed away. I'm his nephew, Vincent." The color drained from the visitor's face. "Oh, I didn't know. I'm very sorry." They turned to leave. "Wait," Vincent called. "Were you here for a special appointment?" The visitor paused, hand on the doorknob. "Yes, I've been coming here for years." Vincent hesitated, then said, "I found my uncle's journals. I know about the services he provided." The tension in the visitor's shoulders eased slightly. "Then you know why this place is important to people like me." "I'm not a stylist," Vincent admitted. "I'm a mechanic, or I was, but I'd like to understand more." The visitor, who introduced himself as Robert but preferred to be called Robin when dressed as a woman, became Vincent's guide to his uncle's secret world. Robin explained how Raymond had created a safe space for gender exploration long before it was socially acceptable, helping countless people find comfort in their own skin. "This place saved lives," Robin said, sitting in one of the barber chairs, "including mine." Over the next month, several more of Raymond's special clients cautiously returned, each sharing stories about how important the final cut had been to them. Vincent took notes, learning about the techniques his uncle had developed and the community he had fostered. Vincent couldn't bring himself to sell the shop. These people needed this place, and his uncle had entrusted it to him for a reason. But he knew he couldn't provide the services himself without understanding what the clients experienced. Late one night, alone in the shop, Vincent unlocked the private room and stood before the vanity. His reflection stared back at him. Short brown hair, day-old stubble, flannel shirt. He opened his uncle's styling guide, a handwritten book describing transformation techniques in detail. "Just to understand," he told himself, opening a drawer filled with makeup products. Vincent had never applied makeup before, and his first attempts were clumsy. Foundation looked patchy, eyeliner went on crooked, and lipstick smeared beyond his lip line. But he persisted, following the guide's instructions, wiping everything off and starting again when he made mistakes. After an hour, he achieved a passable makeup application. His features looked softer, his brown eyes enhanced by subtle shadow and mascara. The guide recommended a wig for beginners, so Vincent selected one with dark brown shoulder-length hair from the collection. With trembling hands, he secured the wig and stared at his reflection. The transformation was startling. Not complete, but enough to glimpse something different. something that made his heart race. Vincent continued his experiment, selecting a simple navy blue dress from the closet. It fit surprisingly well, though he struggled with the zipper. Low-heeled black shoes completed the look. Standing before the full-length mirror, Vincent hardly recognized himself. The person staring back wasn't quite female, the jawline too strong, the shoulders too broad, but there was something about the transformation that felt oddly right. He practiced walking in the heels, moving around the private room, letting himself feel the swish of the dress against his legs. The name Ashlyn popped into his mind, a name he'd always liked the sound of. "Hello, Ashlyn," he whispered to his reflection. That first night was just the beginning. Vincent, now exploring life as Ashlyn during private hours, delved deeper into his uncle's techniques. Each night, after closing the barbershop, he practiced makeup application, hairstyling, and feminine mannerisms. He discovered his uncle's old journals contained detailed notes on voice training, which Ashlyn practiced diligently. The deep voice softened, finding a natural middle register that sounded neither forced nor artificial. 2 months after inheriting the shop, Ashlyn felt confident enough to help Robin during an appointment. Together, they worked through the transformation process, with Robin providing guidance where Ashlyn's skills fell short. "You're a natural," Robin remarked, admiring her makeup in the mirror. "Raymond would be proud." The comment touched something deep inside. "Do you really think so?" "Absolutely. And I can tell this isn't just about business for you."
"I see the way you light up when you're Ashlyn."
That night, alone in the apartment, Ashlyn stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. The truth was undeniable. Being Ashlyn felt right in a way Vincent never had. The more time spent as Ashlyn, the more Vincent's life felt like the disguise. By the 3rd month, Ashlyn was living a double life. During regular business hours, Vincent ran the barbershop, providing traditional cuts to the town's men. In the evenings, and by appointment, Ashlyn emerged to help special clients with their transformations. But maintaining 2 identities proved exhausting. Vincent's appearance began changing subtly, nails kept slightly longer, eyebrows more shaped. Some of the regular barbershop clients noticed, making comments that ranged from curious to uncomfortable. Ashlyn started keeping the wig on longer, sometimes wearing it alone in the apartment, paired with comfortable women's clothing. The feminine name echoed in her mind, even when presenting as Vincent. Each morning, putting on men's clothes felt increasingly like donning a restrictive costume. The decision crystallized one rainy Tuesday evening. The last barbershop client had left, and Vincent flipped the sign to "closed." Instead of waiting until night to transform, he immediately went to the private room. This time, the transformation was different. Ashlyn took extra care with every step, applying makeup with precision. She styled a new wig, dark brown with loose curls that framed her face, securing it perfectly. A vintage-inspired floral tea dress in deep purples and blues hugged her figure, complemented by sensible Mary Jane shoes in black patent leather. Standing before the mirror, Ashlyn applied deep plum lipstick as the finishing touch. The person reflected back was no longer Vincent playing dress-up. This was Ashlyn, confident, authentic, complete. "This is me," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "This has always been me." The next morning, Ashlyn made a decision. She wouldn't be switching back to Vincent anymore. She put a note on the barbershop door. Under new management, reopening next week. The week that followed was transformative. Ashlyn called the lawyer who had handled Raymond's estate, discussing the legal process of changing her name and gender markers.
She reached out to several of the special clients who had become friends, sharing her decision to live authentically. Robin helped her shop for a proper wardrobe, practical yet feminine clothes that suited her new life. They selected several high-quality wigs, while Ashlyn began growing out her natural brown hair. "What about the barbershop?" Robin asked, as they shared coffee at a cafe downtown. Ashlyn had ventured out publicly for the first time, nervous but determined. "I'm still figuring that out," Ashlyn replied, stirring her latte. She wore a casual outfit, jeans, a purple blouse, and a cardigan, with her brown curly wig styled simply. "I'm thinking of keeping the traditional barbershop in front, but being more open about the services in the private room, making it an inclusive space for everyone." When the final cut reopened, subtle changes marked the transition. A small rainbow sticker appeared in the corner of the front window. The sign now read, "The Final Cut, Barbershop and Styling Studio." Ashlyn hired a barber to handle the traditional clients, while she focused on building the transformation services. Word spread through whispered recommendations and online forums. People drove from hours away for appointments with Ashlyn, whose understanding of both the technical and emotional aspects of gender expression made her uniquely qualified. 6 months after inheriting the shop, Ashlyn hosted a small gathering for her regular clients and new friends. The private room had been expanded, now featuring 2 styling stations and a comfortable seating area. Champagne flowed as Ashlyn toasted her uncle's legacy. "Raymond created this space when the world wasn't ready for people like us," she said, raising her glass. "He couldn't have known his nephew would become his niece, but somehow, I think he'd be pleased." Robin squeezed her hand. "He knew exactly what he was doing when he left you this place." Later that evening, after everyone had gone, Ashlyn stood in the empty shop. She ran her fingers along the barber chair her uncle had used for decades. The building felt different now, lighter somehow, as if a long-held breath had finally been released. Upstairs, Ashlyn opened the last of Raymond's journals, one she hadn't read before. The final entry caught her eye. April 3rd, 2018. Vincent visited the shop today. He doesn't know I saw how he looked at the private room door. There's a questioning in his eyes that reminds me of myself at his age. Perhaps this place will mean something to him someday, as it has to so many others. Perhaps he'll find himself here, as I did. Tears slipped down Ashlyn's cheeks, smudging her carefully applied makeup. Her uncle had seen something in her, long before she recognized it in herself. The following year brought changes both expected and surprising. Ashlyn's natural brown hair grew long enough that she no longer needed wigs, though she kept them for styling clients. The Final Cut's reputation grew, becoming known as a haven for those exploring gender expression. On the anniversary of her inheritance, Ashlyn stood before the shop, admiring the freshly painted facade and new signage. The traditional barber pole remained, a nod to the shop's history, but beside it hung a more modern sign depicting diverse hairstyles. Inside, both sections of the business thrived. The barbershop served a loyal clientele who appreciated its vintage charm, while the styling studio helped people transform, whether for an evening or a lifetime. Ashlyn smoothed the skirt of her favorite purple dress, an upgraded version of the one she'd worn on that pivotal night, and smiled at her reflection in the window. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, from reluctant heir to passionate proprietor, from Vincent to Ashlyn. The shop bell tinkled as someone pushed open the door. A young person with short brown hair and nervous eyes stepped inside, glancing around uncertainly. "Welcome to the Final Cut," Ashlyn said warmly. "How can I help you today?" The visitor hesitated,
then spoke in a quiet voice. I heard that you help people like me, people who want to explore. Ashlyn smiled, recognizing the same look she had once worn herself. You've come to the right place. Would you like to see our private styling room? As she led the way, Ashlyn felt a profound sense of rightness. This was her purpose, continuing the legacy her uncle had begun but making it her own. The final cut would remain a place of transformation, where people could discover their authentic selves, just as she had. In the styling chair, the nervous client relaxed as Ashlyn explained the process. The first time I sat in this chair, I was terrified, she confided, selecting brushes and products. But it was also the first time I truly saw myself. Did you always know? The client asked. Ashlyn paused, considering the question. No, she answered honestly. Sometimes the truth takes time to reveal itself. But when it does, when you see yourself clearly for the first time, it's like coming home. As the transformation began, Ashlyn thought about all the lives that had been changed in this room, including her own. From Vincent the mechanic to Ashlyn the stylist and mentor, her journey had come full circle. The final cut had given her more than just a business. It had given her herself. And now, she would continue to offer that same gift to others, one transformation at a time. The shop thrived through changing seasons. Ashlyn expanded the services, hiring another stylist who specialized in helping clients find their authentic look. The barbershop side remained traditional, creating a unique business that bridged two worlds. On quiet evenings, Ashlyn sometimes sat in the private room, looking through her uncle's journals and adding entries of her own. She documented techniques, client stories, with names changed, and her personal journey. One day, these journals would be passed on to someone else, perhaps another person who needed to find themselves. The legacy of the final cut would continue, evolving with each new caretaker while remaining true to its core purpose, helping people become who they truly were meant to be. As Ashlyn locked up the shop on a cool autumn evening, she glanced at her reflection in the window. Her brown hair caught the light, natural waves framing a face now softened by time and hormone therapy. The purple dress she wore, her signature color now, swayed gently as she turned to walk home. Vincent was a distant memory, like a character in a book she'd once read. Ashlyn was real, had always been real, waiting to be discovered beneath layers of expectation and uncertainty. The final cut had given her the tools to uncover her true self, and in doing so, she had found not just a new identity, but a purpose and a home.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!